On this week's show,
It worked well last week.
I'll just go for it. Go on. Go on.
Roll VT.
Hey.
Yes, on this week's show, boys and girls, we have the most amazing people from Brief Your Market. We've got Damon, Ryan, and David. Welcome, boys.
Welcome to the show.
So, for those of you that don't know what Brief Your Market is, probably tell us who you are.
Brief Your Market's an award-winning omni-channel platform, email, SMS, letters. We support over...
What does omni-channel mean?
Omni-channel.
It means lots of channels.
All around.
It means loads, like omnipresent.
Oh, right, a bit like you.
Oh, always.
Anyway, sorry, yeah, go on.
No, it's all right. We support over 2,000 offices in the United Kingdom. And we've done 200 million emails this year. 1.2 million website hits.
That's a lot of numbers.
Yeah,
Wow.
150,000 valuations, 50,000 online valuations, and 25,000 support calls to help our customers get the best return on investment.
I think officially that's big in the game.
That is big in the game.
Big in the
That's
game.
massive in the game.
Yeah.
So, who are your colleagues then?
To my left is Ryan Hampson. He's the marketing and ops for Brief Your Market. And David Newnes, everyone knows who David Newnes is.
Oh, big in the
He
game.
is big in the game. David's shareholder inside Brief Your Market and also sits as a NED on our board.
Well, it was. If you don't mind me saying, it's a bit like Remington because he used to be in charge of Your Move and Marsh and Parsons and all the big games, and he loved the company so much that he bought the company or bought the shares.
Why not?
Maybe
I love Damon so much. That's what
maybe he'll love our company, Matt.
Hey, we don't want to be bought though, just yet. Maybe in a few years.
Yeah. So
Okay, so Brief Your Market is basically an omni platform.
omni-channel.
platform.
Okay, so basically you communicate with estate agents. Estate agents use your platform to communicate with people to get more listings, more valuations.
Yeah, and we had a good chat before. You had a chat in the big studio about how broad your product is. You've been running since 2009,
Yeah,
so 9 years. So,
Yeah.
So you've
So you've seen the bad times.
seen the bad
as well.
times.
good maths.
You've seen the quick maths.
He's not here for his looks.
That's why I'm making. And then you've got obviously but you've seen the market for the last 9 years. So you've seen kind of the end of the recession.
Yeah.
The property sort of recession because I know obviously crashing sort of 7,
08.
7, 8,
7,
yeah.
8,
Yeah.
which is when I lost all my money in property.
Yeah.
And then you've sort of come out the back of that, and then seen a rise in prop tech across the industry as
They
a
were
whole.
prop tech before prop
Yeah,
tech.
well, that's what I mean. That's what I'm trying to say. So, it's seen a rise in prop tech to a point now where the market is kind of saturated, I guess, with things. And we've said this before. And Chris likes to say
They provide solutions to problems that don't exist.
Yeah.
PropTech. Some
but you're
PropTech.
providing a solution to something that's constant. And with the GDPR thing that came in May, obviously you had to flex and bend around that. So, what does your core offering look like? What would if as a new customer, someone who doesn't really know your product is not an estate agent, what would I be buying from you if I was to come and say I'd really like to work with you?
Yeah, so the core advantage of Brief Your Market is it integrates into your local CRM system, so the likes of Desres, Repit, Dupix, etc.
Which is one of the big problems with most prop tech is that
Well, they
it
don't
doesn't
integrate.
Doesn't talk to each other.
No, that's right. So Brief Your Market talks to 94% of all the CRM systems inside property. And just to give you an example of that, we take on average 18,000 updates every sub-second inside the product. So we're constantly getting feeds of data from all the local CRM systems.
Yeah.
And what it allows you to do is communicate to your database to make sure that you're always sending relevant communications at the right time to the right people. And that can be one in many guises. First guise is automated, so that's triggers to welcome and if you've had a valuation or a viewing, etc., etc. All the way to monthly newsletters and even single email shot blasts or customer surveys to work out how well your business is doing.
So Ryan, the numbers are quite staggering. We were talking 300 million emails.
Yes. or even 200 million.
Was it 200?
Yeah, no, but
Giving them another 100 million.
Give us 800 mil.
No one cares about 100 million here or there. But still.
Sorry.
Come on, be serious.
And sing. 200 million emails. Right, that is no small feat. How many agencies do you work with? How many sort of companies do you work with sort of nationwide?
So it's thousands of branches. It's upwards of 600 businesses inside the
And
UK.
the biggest names that people would know.
Yeah.
Big and
Yeah,
gay.
big names, really big
Yeah,
names.
yeah. And why do you think it is that? I mean, we use this word quite a lot. You know, why do you think there is this level of trust between all these customers of yours
Yeah.
and what is clearly both
People
an
do
established
stay
and
with you,
well-respected
don't they?
product?
Yeah, they do, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm guessing you'll have had clients that have been with you since '09.
Yeah, we certainly do. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, why do you think it is? Why do you think there is that level of trust?
Well, certainly comes down to service at the end of the day. So as Damon mentioned in one of the videos a little bit earlier, is that whatever tool you use, you need to use it in order to get to results. So our team are driven on how many times speak to a customer each and every month and make sure they're providing the right strategy for that particular time of the year. So it's the right message at the right time.
But it's also cost effective.
Yeah, very much so. So we benchmark our product and what it costs an agent a month, which is depends on exactly what mix of products they use from Brief Your Market, but around £300 a month versus the other channels there are of the portals and good old-fashioned newspaper advertising and so on. And Brief Your Market allows you to, in a tailored, customised way, at trigger points through the journey of your house sale or house purchase, to communicate to all of your clients automatically.
Less than half a page of advertising space.
Well, I tell you what, they broke Valpal last week.
Did they?
Tell me the story.
But to put that into, just before we do, to put that into real terms, Chris,
Yeah.
right, it's £300 a month.
Pound
Yes.
notes.
So that's 2 bottles of champagne. That's it.
Well, if you buy the
That's
cheap
it.
stuff,
If you buy the cheap stuff. So, yeah, go on. So how do you break Valpal?
Yeah, well, I think just before I touch on to Volpal, you ask why do people stay
Trust
with
you,
us? Yeah, and trust us. And that's because as a company, we have agonised over return on investment. So we've written a bespoke return on investment report that you can access as a customer. And it tells you in a quarter how many emails you've sent, what's the best time to send, what's the best campaign that you've sent, the money that you've spent, the average fee that you charge. And we plot all that inside an ROI report, so you can actually be confident that you're getting a much greater return than you are spending.
Does it integrate with social media channels? Does it have some of that functionality?
Yeah, I mean, we only push to social media.
Of course, yeah.
So inside the microsite, any of your consumers can actually click and share all the content into it, and you can, as a business, if you've got like a LinkedIn page or a Facebook page, and you can push the content in. Yeah.
Clever though, because if it's so, correct me if I'm wrong then, for just under £300 a month, which is less than half-page advert in the newspaper for a week. We know this. £500 is the standard run rate price for an advert.
Yep.
So for £300 a month, you can have a fully customised system that will speak to all your clients, that will email out when you want to, across multiple channels, integrating video content, blog posts, photography, Rightmove stuff.
What do you mean by right?
Well, if you've got a listing. So
we take the properties as well, and you can
perfect.
achieve that.
Yeah, so all of that.
And training.
And
You train,
training.
don't you?
Training,
And you get training how to use it, right?
Yeah, and that's ongoing, and also you have an account manager that will call you and show you the best practices. We also run free academy days that you can attend, and actually again we'll debate all the right things.
And there's a resource for people, right? There's video tutorials, all that sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
all that's inside the UI.
Okay, hold on a second.
Put your prices up.
Okay, the golden plug is just going a little bit over the edge there, boys. So
No,
I think we should just move on. Let's get some value back for the guys out there in estate agency land.
Okay, fine.
And do Q&A.
Okay, it's time to ask the prop show.
Wrong side this week.
I'm on the wrong side. Still got the tassel there. So, hang on. Questions?
We got to read it off that, don't you?
It's not even in there. It's not even in there.
Blank pages.
So, what are your top tips for emails in terms of content? What should be in the subject line? When you should send them? Boys, take it away.
So Damon, run the expert on this.
Yeah, so I think first of all, one of the things that I always worry about in anything is people come up with common statements that means it applies to all, where Brief Your Market works about what applies the best for you, for your customers. So inside the ROI report which you talked about earlier, it will tell you what's the best campaign that you've ever sent, what's the best time that you should send it. And we do see that vary depending on the content that you send in and the time of day. They are intrinsically linked.
And you can tailor that.
Yeah, you can then utilise that data and choose it and
Answer the question.
But what but if you weren't using Brief Your Market, what would you say was the best thing to send?
Okay, let's go subject line first.
Yeah. So subject lines, some top tips for me is making it really a gotcha kind of statement. So something that's powerful, that's impacting, that makes you want to open it.
But not clickbait that's like false once you start reading.
Not like
Yeah.
it can't be earned £50,000 by opening this. That just doesn't make sense. But something that's really engaging. Make sure that it's relevant to time. So if you're doing a March newsletter, make sure you put March in there. You know, stuff like that.
Place.
Chris touched on that in one of the video. That place works.
Put a location in it. Like if you're in Grantham, great place.
Grantham
Best
landlords
place.
must read this. Or...
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
And also the use of emojis. So you can put emojis inside
Did you really
subject
put
lines.
emojis in email subject lines?
Yeah.
So again, really
Bomb
powerful.
emoji.
Really powerful.
Come on.
Really powerful
And
stuff.
there's questions as well. Questions always work really well.
Yes.
How much is your property worth? Actually, quite.
How much is your Grantham property worth?
Yeah, how much your grant? Yeah, even
Yeah,
better.
really
even
emoji.
better.
Really good.
With an emoji,
Cool.
yeah.
And in terms
Cash
of-
bag emoji.
In terms of content, then, Ryan, what do you think works best in terms of content? Is it written? Is it visuals? Is it video?
It's all
video-
hard sell.
I like to say, so video always gets the higher engagement because people are getting, in a nice possible way, lazier.
Yeah,
People are
you'd say
getting
that,
lazier, they
yeah.
don't want to read through reams of text, so video always works.
Yeah.
Personalisation in content always works as well, the more relevant it is to the person, and equally so property prices.
How would that work?
In what sense?
So, in terms of personalisation, obviously, would your system put like Dear Mrs. Jones or
Yeah,
Dear,
of course,
Dear
yeah,
David?
There's snippets you can put in each type of communication,
That's
so you can pull in all the data they have in their CRM.
Do you think that's
so
quite important? Do you feel? Because I guess personalising it to me.
You're more likely to open an email if it's addressed to you, I guess, rather
Yeah,
than...
right.
We always say if every email was relevant to you, you'd open every single
Push
one.
one.
What you're deleting away is the stuff that you're not interested in.
What's your thoughts on images in the actual main body of the text? Because how many times have you opened up an email that's got that white box that says download image?
Yeah, definitely. So what we're seeing a lot of now is that utilising images is really important. You have to remember if you're opening an Outlook client, you're going to get the red X and the white box. So you've got to think about having again a grabbing statement on your text to make sure that you want to download the images. And then you've got the problem in the traverse on handheld devices. So if you've got to make sure they're mobile ready, that actually they automatically download the images for you. So you've got to get this blend of good text and images, and we help with that.
That's good. And so, moving on, how do you think estate agents should use kind of more modern techniques? How do you think we should
To get more listings,
to get more
to get more
sales? How do you think that would work?
Well, let's ask David, because he's the estate agent.
Yeah, sure. So if I was still acting, or active in a estate agency now, I'd be using every tool I possibly could because the market's difficult. The number of instructions to go around has contracted. The market's smaller. So for me, best estate agency practice now is all about growing your market share. So there's still a market there, and there's still easily enough for the really good agents in each town to make a good profit. And it's a plug for Brief Your Market, but a tool like Brief Your Market does exactly that.
Do you think the market's going to contract further? And what do you think agents, any agent, but good agents can do to counteract that? I mean, what's your sort of feeling about the market now?
So the first thing is the market going to contract further. I think two markets, lettings and sales. I think at the moment it's very difficult. So some of this is going to depend on exactly how Brexit lands. And there's a whole range of things around that, but the biggest one really is public confidence. How do they feel about their job and the economy and what's going to be happening in kind of UK PLC? If people are confident about that, then they'll think about moving again. And that's been very suppressed in the last couple of years generally.
Do you think though that sorry, I'm wearing the fez. Do you think though that do you think it will make a huge difference though? Because Chris has said this before. He's been done buy-to-let evenings around the country where there's a sort of perception where people have seen their house values rise, they bought for argument's sake £100,000. It went up to £300,000. Then the market dips a touch and it goes down to 250, and the perception is that they've lost 50,000 and actually made 150.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, and also it's all relevant. If it's an investment,
that's what I mean.
That's different. If it is your own home and you're moving on in a falling market, if you're trying to move up market, you're actually a winner because the percentage drop in value terms are going to be greater than the one you're moving up to.
That was what I was going to kind of come on to. You know, will it if the market does contract or values do go down a bit?
Yeah.
If you're buying and selling in the same market, is that going to have a huge impact?
No.
Do you think we as agents...
It's the public confidence. Sorry, but it's the public confidence piece about what's the economy going to do, what's going to happen to interest rates, what's going to happen to my job with all this import, export, what's happening with that. And I don't think a lot of people fully understand exactly what it is all about. They just have this overriding concern. No, I don't think, I would agree with you. I think there's just an overriding concern about how might this affect me. I tell you what, why don't we just sit tight until this is sorted out? Now, there are ways around that. So agents with really good effective marketing can demonstrate the one you want to buy has come down by more than the one that you're going to sell. So, hey, look, you're a winner, not a loser. And using the best marketing tools that are available to get that message across to your client base now is more important than ever. And using something that's really cost effective, like Brief Your Market, is as important now as ever.
Do you think it's the trading up where people will win? And do you think that's where the market will sort of continue? There'll be some sort of, I guess, easing in where obviously values do come down a bit or the market does contract a bit, where people are wanting to improve their lot effectively or, you know, buy bigger or what have you. Do you think that's where agents should try and capitalise?
I think they should try and capitalise on the whole market. I think trying to just focus on one particular sector, I think, is a mistake. I think there are plenty of first-time buyers that have been saving that will want to get on the ladder with things like Help to Buy. And there are plenty of people that have got to move because they've had another child or their job's relocated and all that stuff that goes on all the time. You know, there's still 1.2 million people moving home.
Where do you think then, Mr. Watkin, as a UK property market journalist, where do you think the sticking point will be? Because if the market does contract, okay, and overall values come down, and we've seen this in London where values aren't increasing at the rate that they were, okay, if the markets come down across the board, first-time buyers will be happy because their pound will be worth more, effectively, because the property will be cheaper. If you're wanting to trade up, you're also going to want to move, and that's good for people in the middle sort of ground. Is it at the top end, the people that have got the bigger properties that are going to hold on to them and go, I'm not going to lose my money, I'm going to sit tight until... I mean, where do you think it will give? Because obviously if prices come down, it's kind of a good thing for a lot of people because there has been this hard period of people not being able to get on the ladder or what have you. What's your feel?
My opinion is that the biggest issue is, as what David said, is confidence. And we as agents need to create a story and tell a story. You know, if it's a good market, people's perception is that's good for sellers, but a good market for sellers means it's a bad market for buyers. So if the market drops, that means that it's a good market for buyers and not necessarily for sellers. But most people are buyers and sellers in the same market.
Same market, yeah.
So we as an industry need to educate the people in our locality that whilst things are changing, it's not actually changing a great amount when you actually sit down and work your sums out. Yeah, I think that's really what it comes down to.
And to be clear, I mean, I'm certainly not an advocate of saying the market's going to contract and prices are going to go down next year. I think it's highly unlikely that prices are going to go shooting up and we're going to see a big increase in volume. But I think there's every opportunity for the market to remain reasonably flat and carry on as this year.
Interestingly, since the referendum vote, on average, property prices in the UK have risen by 17%. And if we had another crash, like we had in 08-09, property prices dropped on average about 18%. So we'd only be going back to where we were a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so actually... Yeah.
So really it's all about perception.
It is all about perception.
And I think as well, what you have to remember is when we come out of it, it's about people just pent up frustration where no matter what's happening, you know, the media plays loads of pictures about the market.
Of course they do.
And eventually people just get so tired of that I'm going to move anyway because we'd rather roll the dice. And I think, I'm not sure I'll see that next year, maybe to end the Q4 next year, but Q1, Q2 in 2020, I think you'll definitely start to see
Really,
that
yeah.
momentum go again.
The reality is that the good agents are still out there plugging away exactly the same as they were, trying to grow their market share and doing deals still, both on sales and lettings. And the people that got their heads down and saying the market's dreadful are the people that are going to
But
find
let's
it
be honest,
difficult.
you and I have been through a market, but back in 08, 09, and you've obviously been not only very close to myself with the grey hair, back in the other crash in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
We survived that, and I think we just have to dust off our old manuals and go back to the old traditional methods.
So the reality,
and the original question was about tech and what would I be doing. I'd just be using everything I possibly could.
Because let's be honest, how wonderful is it that you can now get your message out? You haven't got to spend £2,000 a month on newspaper advertising.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We can afford Rightmove and your product and still be quids in.
Yes,
Yeah.
but
And speak to more people.
Yeah, clearly, yeah.
but done in the right way.
Got to be done the right way.
Because the scattergun are just flood the market.
Well, the
with
amount
loads
of
stuff.
info these chaps are collecting, it's...
Because the thing I like about Briefing
golden.
Market, I tell you what, we should be paid for this, boys.
It's all right. They're going to send us some free stuff.
Oh yeah, so let's do the free stuff bit.
Oh, free stuff. So thanks, Wando.
Thanks, Wando.
For the lovely,
Best present
Thank you.
before
lovely
Christmas.
So you got to keep on.
I've got to keep on.
We're going to sing a song.
So Merry Christmas. You
Thank
can
you very
take
much.
these for your
That's
car.
kind. It's really
All
kind.
right, they're great in a hot tub. Just
And also, you get the free Yondell socks as well. So you don't have to think
thanks
about
Yondell for the
and
socks.
we got some, and probably get some more out the box.
We will get some out.
And then if you brief you can take the glasses off now.
I like them.
Okay. And then if you actually want to sponsor the show for the princely sum of £0 and 0 pence, you too, if you have some high quality gifts that we can give to the customers.
100%.
But yeah, anyway, that's the pop show, so that's it.
Should we go to our man on the ground quickly in Bushy and Edgware? Steve, what you got to say this week?
Steve says it's a great day to make a video.
Thanks, Steve.
Cheers.
So in terms of
Should we just drop in a little Simon Whale video here?
yeah, well, we spoke to Simon. Which one would you like?
Which Simon did you speak to?
Which Simon did you speak to? Bradbury, Whale,
Let's do Simon Whale. Just
Simon Whale. Which one would you like?
I don't know, just pick one. We'll
Pick
drop
one.
it up in post edit.
It's not all interesting.
Okay, well just choose one. Just drop it in.
Okay, well here's Chris with Simon Whale in the studio.
Do you think estate agents and letting agents get too focused on having too many prop tech ideas and apps and whiz bang things for their websites?
Yes, they do, but I would be hypocritical if I didn't say that was just a problem with us all these days, isn't it? I mean, how often do we, see some app advertised, download it, look at it for 6 seconds and do nothing with it? Yeah, it's an issue there because stuff can be shiny, stuff can be interesting, stuff can promise a short-term solution, but ultimately you need to be thinking about how to bring this together coherently. The bric-a-brac collection of prop tech that often takes place in agencies where they have this solution for that solution for something else there, because they haven't dealt with the underlying issue of having a really robust CRM system or whatever else it is out there is a problem.
Do you think the issue is that people buy pigeonhole little bits of...
They do it rather than delaying the big issue, but the big change and everything else there. So, a lot of our clients, for example, they love Good Lord and applications like that, and they go out there and they've looked at a One Dome as well to create the booking tools, and these are all great systems, but you need to think about them, in the whole rather than in isolation.
And do you think that's the CRM's issue, the prop tech's issue, or the estate agents?
Look, it's just a fact of life of where we are at the moment. It is the fact that no one system can promise to do everything. In the old days, everyone kept trying to bring together all these different elements, and they wanted to do everything. But it's so easy to develop these days. It's so easy to create an app out there that you can't critique that, but you do need to try and control it. And whether that's the CRMs creating their own marketplaces, their own app stores. That's definitely a solution. I think Desres have done a good job in that, from what I can see.
I think there's a guy from Australia, I won't mention their name, but they reckon they've got a pimp Pimp Up CRMs.
Pimp Up CRM is great.
I think we have to register that name.
So it's at the very moment I get out of CRMs, there's a load of pimping going on. That's really disappointing.
stuff.
That's the moment I felt sad for the first time I left.
Good stuff. Well, thank you very much. Cheers.
That's a good pick. That was a good one.
Okay,
Yeah,
there you go.
yeah.
There you go.
Thanks.
That was interesting.
Yeah.
Whatever it was.
We'll find out tomorrow, Chris.
Just interested, just coming back to that previous conversation when you had your Fez on, if you actually read the journalist, what they're saying is one of the best ways to judge the housing market is not house prices, but housing transaction numbers.
Completely.
Yeah,
Volume. It's
definitely.
all about volume. It's not about value. It's about volume. Because the
Interesting.
volume's still going through, then
Yeah.
you've got a market you can work with it. Your fees might be slightly less, and prices might be more or less. You've got some volume you can do something with, and there's still nearly 1.2
It's new
million
stock,
people
isn't it? It's
moving
gonna keep
houses
moving.
a year.
But
Let's
the
forget
reality
this
is
isn't-
that let's not forget, regardless of the market, regardless of what's happening, people will still be born. People will still snuff
Absolutely,
it.
yeah.
People will still need have children and therefore need bigger
Upsize,
properties.
downsize.
They'll need to
Move for
upsize, need
jobs,
to move for
yeah.
jobs, move in,
Yeah.
move out.
Completely agree.
And property, whilst there might be fluctuation, people still need houses. And actually, we're not building enough, are we?
We're not. Well, I mean, interestingly, if you look at the housing market in the 2000s, what you saw was the big years of house pricing growth was 2000 to 2005,
Yeah.
and whilst house prices went like that, transactions went up like that.
Yeah.
But in the last 4 or 5 years, we've had some pretty decent growth, not at that sort of level, but transactions have remained pretty stable.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
So actually, one could actually say we've actually been in a suppressed market for the last 5 or 6 years already.
Yeah, I think that is.
Guys, if you want to speak to these guys at Briefy Market, you want to find out a bit more about their product, please visit
You always do it.
here.
He's going to get it away now.
So
One of his
please,
jobs.
Well,
Well, the website will come up on the screen.
Oh,
Please
He
visit them
loves it.
online. Please visit them online to find out more. We've been super impressed by their product, and they're also nice guys. They're going to send us some free stuff. But yeah, so
And it's
basically,
easier to use as well nowadays.
it is easy to
Yes,
use.
it wasn't. It was a pain in the backside, but they've actually made it better.
Well, there's loads of tutorial and stuff,
More better,
and
right?
other things. So there's video tutorial. It's already on there, so they don't need us to make any. That sucks. But yeah, so all that's left to do is to ask Chris how his countrywide shares are doing.
10.5p.
Fantastic, he's lost more money. And to say thanks, guys, for coming.
Yeah, thanks a
Appreciate
lot.
it.
Yeah,
Thanks very much.
appreciate it.
Thanks,
Yeah.
William. It's been great to see you.
Cheers, chaps.
Thanks very
Cheers.
much.
Cheers.
And
Yeah, no worries. Pleasure.
We haven't scared you too much.
that's
No,
it.
it's been brilliant. Really enjoyed it.
That's
Really.
And there's only one thing to say, and that's
Shut up!